Hey, good evening, everybody. Dr. Glow here with Black Girl Everything on this lovely Tuesday. So I'm excited about this interview today for a couple of reasons. One, because they're a performer at Black Women in Music and they perform for me all the time, and I love them. And number two, this is my last interview for at least 8 weeks. I'm going on a hiatus to take a break for some self-care on Tuesday evenings. So I'm really, really excited as I get into another project I got to focus more time on. But anyway,
Mm.
Keys, tell everybody about you and where you're from and how just amazing you are.
So thank you. Hey, Facebook. So my name is Keys Will. I am a spoken wordsmith. I'm also a lyricist and an author. In addition to that, I reared into the avenue of what you call it, of art, right? Of what they call it, visual art, right? So what I'm going to be sharing with you today is about my business called Manifest Your Nest, right? And what that really came from was, so the backstory is I had moved into my apartment a few years ago, and you move into an apartment, it's a blank canvas, right? And you want to decorate, you want to do all these things. And I was on like Etsy and all these, apps and stuff trying to find little pieces, but I'm very particular about how I like to design my space. So I wasn't finding anything that resonated with me, right? So then, just as we were saying right before, like go on YouTube, right? YouTube Academy. And I started seeing like different DIY things that you can do in your home. And I came across this concept called decoupage. It's decoupage. And it was new to me. I had never heard or seen of it before. It is where you take different mediums, different materials, and you bring them together and create this one thing. So I got really interested in that. I went and bought materials and all types of supplies, and then I just started doing what I saw. Eventually I got into doing it with plants because I had became a plant parent. I had bought my first plant and I was so excited. And I was just like, but the pot is ugly though. Like it was just a regular terracotta pot. And I saw it and I was just like, this needs to be pretty. Like, I need to do something with it. So I took that same concept with decoupage and started doing it with pots. And then eventually I got into upcycling, which is, it's like recycling. For those of you who don't know, it's like recycling, but it's actually repurposing. So you take something that already exists in your home, and we've been doing it for years, right? I know you might have the same experience where you take, like, I don't know if you remember, of course you probably do, like the old coffee cans, like the Folgers can, and then you reuse it and put like all your old cooking oil in it and keep it on the stove.
Everything goes in it. You never know
Everything.
what you're going to have, leftovers or cookies.
Something, right? Something goes in there. So,
Yeah.
we've been doing this for years. We always take what we have and make the best of it. So it's the concept, I guess, is more mainstream now, but we've
Yeah.
been doing it. So what I do with my art, and I'm going to show you a few pieces. So first I'll show you the pots. So this is your typical pot, right? You go into any store and this is what the pot looks like. And I was like, this don't go with my feng shui, right? It's messing me up. So I started decorating them, and behind me, if you can see, those are actually from my collection from I believe it was about 2 years ago. It was for Women's History Month. That was the
Oh,
collection that
wow.
I decorated. Yeah. And that was one of my favorite pieces. And I'll get into that in a second. But this is one of the pots. I actually customized pots for people as well. So this one here is for a good friend of mine. His name starts with a J, so I made sure I got a nice little J for him. And then he's really big into fashion. He's a model. So I wanted to make sure that I got, all the details about him and his life to be able to properly, make this for him, right? It's designed for him. So yeah, just a little bit. I don't know how well y'all can see
Oh,
it.
no, I can see it. It looks amazing.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you. Yeah, so that's what I do with that. I keep disappearing. And then this is actually the last piece that I have from the Women's History Month collection. So I'm really big on quotes. I'm a poet, right? So I'm really big on quotes and words. So I wanted to create something that, was powerful and spoke to who we are as women, right? So
Yeah.
this is one of the quotes. Let me bring it back. So
Mm-hmm.
I keep disappearing. This is one of the quotes. And then on the opposite side of the bottle, I have these images, I have different images of different women, and because they come in so many different shapes and sizes. So I wanted to do a little piece of every type of woman that there is. So yeah, that is what I do. I feel like I was rambling.
Well, you wasn't rambling. You just gave me a whole bunch of information. So now here comes the questions. Where are you from?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you did say that in the beginning. And I just jumped right in. I was like, I'm gonna show them the art. So I am from Queens, New York, born and raised, and I now live in Brooklyn, which I also love. It's the cousin of Queens. So
That other country called Brooklyn, yes.
other country called Brooklyn. So yeah, that is where I am from.
Okay. So let's get into the fact. When did you realize that you were an artiste?
Mm. I think I realized it. What year are we in? 2024. So I want to say back in like 2021.
Okay.
Yeah. Because growing up, I'm more into words, right? Poetry has always been my avenue. So I wasn't good at coloring, and I don't know if that even makes sense. People like, how can you be bad at color? I was like, no, I was not that kid. Like, I just couldn't envision colors that belong together. Like the paint would just be, all over the place. So I never really tapped into that. But once I discovered this method, I just, for some reason, something just opened up and I got really excited about it and just started creating.
Yeah. Are you handcrafting these things or are you using stencils?
It's a combination of a few things. So as I mentioned, right, the style itself, you bring a bunch of different mediums. So I actually create. So I'm gonna show you this one. So this one is actually paper, but the text that, like, I literally created the quotes on Canva, I think it was. And then I printed them out. And then the way that the technique works is you have to paint brush it on with Mod Podge. And
Got
that's
it.
how it literally like becomes part of the surface. Like you can't take this off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then same with this one. I printed them out and then I had to actually cut them out. Like the way that it is, it wasn't like this. I had to really go in and like cut it out and get all the details in there.
Yeah. It's like he has some great fine motor skills.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's therapeutic because what it does is it makes you focus in, right? Because if you're cutting something that detailed, you have to focus because any wrong move, right, you end up cutting it off or something. So yeah, it's become like a therapy for me to kind of just be able to focus in and not think about anything else and just focus on that. With this one, for example, so they're not stickers necessarily, they're called transfers. So if you
Got
make
it.
t-shirts and stuff, yeah, it's like transfers, but it's a little different, but same thing, kind of just rub it on. And these are all individual quote. Like this pot took me maybe about a week to do. Um, so yeah, I use a bunch of different materials and mediums. I use fabric, I use tissue paper, gift wrapping paper. Like I'll take napkins, I'll take any material and make something with it.
Oh, that's cool. That's a whole idea of upcycle.
Well, yes, that's upcycling, and then it's also decoupage, so it all comes
All
together.
goes together. Okay,
Yeah,
great. Great.
yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about your book.
Ah. So yes, as I mentioned, I am also an author. I self-published my book back in 2016. And I hadn't really been promoting it much because a lot of people were like, "You have a book?" I'm like, "Yeah, this book is like 8 years old now. It's in like second grade now, right?"
Yeah, I
So
only knew that because you sat next to me at J Rose's event. And I was like, what are you doing? I was like, she has a book? Like you have literally performed at least what, maybe 2 or 3 times at some of my
Mhm,
events. And I
mhm.
didn't even know you were a published author.
Yeah, I got to do better. I get to do better.
Well, it's that toxic humility that we tend to have.
Mhm,
We don't want to talk about all of our greatness. We kind of minimize who we are for sake of others around us, including our own mirror at times.
mhm,
And we
mhm,
stop us, we keep on, I could only be this great,
mm.
right? When you really are this great. So you keep stopping yourself. So
Yeah.
talk to me about this piece of work that you haven't talked to me about in the last decade.
So it's a autobiography in poem form. So it's a poetic memoir and it contains poems from when I was small because I started writing poetry when I was 9. So I have poems from, you know, early childhood. So as you read the book, you can see the progression in the writing because it's not that, you know, childlike writing anymore. And
Mhm.
I wanted to showcase that growth throughout the book because the book is titled Chrysalis, Not Quite the Butterfly, right? So
Ooh.
it's showing I actually have a copy. Let me just grab that real quick.
Those are the amazing pots, everybody that's viewing here in the back that
Oh,
she creates, the
mhm.
artiste.
Yeah, I'm gonna let y'all see that. Let y'all see that
Yeah,
for a
we
little.
see it. We see them pots. They dope.
Thank you, thank you. So yeah, so this I'm trying to get this how I get it
Right there,
together.
good.
Okay, yeah, so this is the book. It is available on Amazon, and I do keep copies on hand. So which I like to do because as you see, like I like to sign them and put a nice message in the book. Um, so yeah, it shows the progression of my experiences as a child, and then as I go into adulthood. I think the last poem in this book I might have wrote somewhere in my early 20s. I don't know. I might have been like 23 or something. I think it was 23 about that time. So I share experiences about, you know, how I grew up and just
Hmm.
my lens of the world and my experiences with being Black, my experiences with being a Black woman, my experience with being a Black queer woman, right, in this world. So I tap into all of those. And I definitely mentioned some experiences with the women who raised me. That's in the book. Um, so yeah, it's pretty much just taking you on a journey of how I experienced my experiences.
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal that you sat there and you and put that all within a space of a book, and that is 6 years old, and I'm just now finding out about it. That's a whole nother story. As you can see, I'm a little like, wait, what?
I
Knowing what I
know.
do, and part of what Black Girl Everything does. Like, so I'm just really excited that you're going to be at our May 11th event, which is our Black Women in Music event here in the garden, and that you're actually going to have a table for your books and
Yes.
also your pots, because I didn't know that part either until I sat here just now and you shared all your greatness with me within this space. So,
Yeah.
so let's have a real conversation about it. You got plenty of words. I'm about to put you on a spot. What do you think are some of the reasons why, especially as Black women, that we limit our greatness for society?
Mm, mm. I mean, I think that we've just been taught to shrink ourselves,
Mhm.
right? And it may be directly or indirectly. It could be within the household, what our parents tell us, like there's always this thing of too much, right? Like you're doing too much or this is
Yeah.
too much, right? So when you keep hearing messages like that, you internalize it and you cap yourself like maybe maybe I should sit back. I have things to say, but I don't want to overshadow anyone else who has something to say, or I don't want to, do too much. It's always the doing too much. I'll never forget there was this woman. I had went to this training for a job years ago. It was a 2-week training in Omaha, Nebraska, and um, I'm a scholar. I'm a nerd, right, to an extent, right. So I like to sit in the front of the class. Like I got something to say, and I like to contribute to the conversation. So I guess I was doing too much, right.
Mhm.
So during the like the intermission, she called me into her office, and she's like, "Hey, you're out there. You're stealing my thunder out there." And I'm just like, I'm actually helping you because no one else in the room is actually participating. You know what I'm saying? There's a
Yeah.
class full of people, and I'm trying to, keep the energy going. So she was like, "Yeah, you're stealing my thunder." And she said something like, sometimes people when they shine so bright, they can blind others. And my response was, well, then maybe they should get some sunglasses.
Because that was in the back of my head with my words. I was like, then they need shades. Because why should we? And that's the thing about me with this whole collective and the whole aspect of Black or everything, how I look at it. Because there's no such thing as anybody outshining anybody, right? Because the whole world, if we are all shining to our highest possibility, the better place the world would be. But it's when we decide to put on these blankets over our greatness and hide in darkness in our sheds and not necessarily come out to be exactly who we're supposed to be, that's what hurts the world. That's what hurts society. That's what hurts community. So, that's really interesting. We don't like her, but whatever. We're happy you got past
Actually,
it.
I wrote a poem about her, but I sure enough did because I was just like, And just to give some context, she wasn't a Black woman. We're just gonna say that.
Oh, I knew that already.
She
You even have to
just
say that part. I already
she
knew
just
that. I was like, what was she talking about? Because
yeah,
unfortunately, because she already walked into the room with home prejudices, and that's ultimately what it is. And you were just too strong for the space. You're stealing my thunder. First of all, no Black woman's gonna own anybody stealing their thunder anyway. All they're gonna do is go harder and increase their
exactly,
thunder.
exactly. Match my
And nobody
energy.
does that. Nobody
Um,
does that.
yeah. So just experiences like that, and yeah, I just think Black women just have we've just been conditioned to just play small in the world. So it's not inherently a choice, but I do get to choose to not walk through life like that anymore.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I think because we all have the tools that are necessary to be able to get into those spaces and acknowledge our ways of being around it, which makes it a much better possibility when when we have that type of language
yeah.
to guide us through, that levels of greatness through all of our
Mhm.
possibilities. So here's my next really, really hard question. You ready?
Go ahead, hit me.
And when it comes down to poetry, what is the area in your life you like to express the most?
Mm. Mm. That is a good question.
Because with some poets, they tend to lean heavily into particular concepts, right? Because it's a mirror of their art is a mirror of their life. So
Yeah.
which mirror do you like to hold up when you express your poetry? Because I've heard different pieces from you, and there's such a variety in your
Mhm.
work. So I kind of want to know what encourages your creativity to flourish in that way.
So I believe it was when I started writing this book, the piece that actually pushed me to into publishing was this piece called Dinosaurs. And what Dinosaurs is about is a social justice piece. And I'm talking about because I believe that was around the time that Sandra Bland passed.
Mm,
And I just felt it so deeply. I was like, I have to write something about it. And it's in the book as well. And that was what catapulted me into performing because I wasn't performing before I published the book. It was
got it.
the book that got me into performing. And I kind of just went on that. I stuck to those concepts of like social justice and just, speaking about current events and stuff that's affecting us right now.
Mm-hmm.
Where I am in my poetry now, I'm actively digging deeper, right? Because the social justice pieces are great, right? But they're not about me, right?
Mm.
I'm not really sharing me. I'm sharing, but I'm not sharing me. So what I want to do, what my intention around my pieces now are to share more of myself and my personal experiences to be able to just better connect with people. Like that's really my thing is I want to be able to better connect with people. So to answer your question, social justice is what I was leaning on, but that's not the case anymore.
Yeah, so now you're leaning into connection, and connection is such a powerful word. That was my word over the weekend. It was
Mm,
a big word. And honestly, I just need new people. That's where I'm at. I just need new people. I'm collecting
mm,
people for multiple things. I'm opening the gym, some of
mm,
the other work I'm doing with Black Girl Everything, like getting different faces at the retreat.
yeah.
And honestly, just spending time with individuals on different levels that I'm not used to spending time, right? Getting different perspectives because you can't ultimately grow unless you're actually getting new perspectives on life because you're speaking to the same people who just yes ma'am you to death.
It's a confirmation bias. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just
Mhm.
like crazy. Like, stop telling me okay. I need somebody to tell me no. That
Yeah.
doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
I need somebody to challenge my thought process because
Mhm.
nobody's challenging your thought process. You're never going to think in a higher level ever, right?
Exactly.
So I just think that's really interesting that you want to focus more so on connection and sharing you around that because your work has leaned into the social justice area a lot.
Mhm.
And I think that's where our connection has missed.
Mm.
I'm finding even in this conversation, I've been around you I've shared space with you on numerous occasions, but I'm not too sure how much I know you,
Mhm. Right. Right.
right? It's like, what are you hiding from?
Yeah, and that comes with vulnerability, right? Which
Yeah.
poetry in itself is already vulnerable, but you know, I mean I had to really self-reflect and I was just like because one thing was I got tired of doing the pieces, right? After doing them over and over again, it's kind of like a musician, right? Like they go to concerts and they perform the same, people want to hear your hits. They love these songs. So people always request, oh, do this poem, right? So I'll do it. But then I had took like maybe about a year hiatus because I was just like, I need new material. And I'm like, where's
Yeah.
this new material gonna come from? And I'm
Mhm.
like, it's easy for me to pull from current events. Like I that's that's easy, as information. But I'm like, no, but I don't feel like I'm actually being authentic to myself. I don't feel like I'm
Yeah.
actually sharing myself. So it is a challenge, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm not, I chose it, so
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? We're gonna have to really dig deep. In addition to that, I actually started going back to therapy, which was something that I had gotten away from, because I'm very clear that I'm disconnected from my emotions, right? And people, you don't
Mhm.
you don't really know that, right? Until you like, you experience me in certain ways. But I'm very self-aware, so I know that this is an area that I'm like, all right, I gotta really, if we're gonna do this for real, like let me really get the tools that I need to actually tap into that. Cause I don't want to just be talking. Like, let me actually be saying something. So
Yeah, that all makes sense. I think thank you for being vulnerable in the space. And I talk about
yeah.
therapy all the time that, one of the best parts of my life was when I pivoted and went through years of therapy. I had also a fortunate experience of going through 8 years of like parenting therapy with my son and play therapy. We played a lot of chess for 8 years
Mm.
with a therapist, right? But we both worked through so much together. He was able to work through what he needed, and I got what I needed out of it. I think people are so scared about what can happen when you speak to a therapist. Like it's like the best thing ever. You pay for a new best friend who gives you
Literally.
advice, right? And then you
Right.
trust it because you know they're educated enough to really give you some decent advice.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
just really just helps you get to another level. And then being disconnected from your emotions, right? So we all have experienced particular traumas in our life and experience individuals that put you in this point where you turn all your emotions off, where you don't want to actually connect to people. But then we'll realize ultimately you're not even connected to self
Exactly.
when you do that. And that's just the fact, and we don't want, because you need to have that balance of everything if you actually want to be successful
Exactly.
in your eyes of what success is.
Exactly that. Yeah. So I got very clear on that. And I was like, for me to even just elevate in myself spiritually, I was like, nah, I got some stuff I gotta work through. So let's get to it.
Yeah, all that definitely makes sense to me. That definitely makes sense to me. So we talked about you being a poet. We found out that you're an author and that you paint really cool pots and do upcycling and everything
Mhm.
else like that.
Yeah.
So talk to me, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Mm. Mm. I love this question. And I used to hate this question in interviews. Like, oh, I just want to pay my bills. Like, just get this. Like, asking me all this. I'm trying to see myself. Um, but no, the question resonates differently now because I actually have a clearer vision of
Yeah.
what I want to do with my life. And it's funny because I literally just had this conversation an hour ago. Um, my vision for my life is to travel. I want to travel the
Mhm.
world and do poetry. Like that's
Oh,
literally
so
it.
not that you want to, you're going to travel the
I
world and do
am.
poetry?
You're absolutely right. Let me reframe that so universe gets that message correctly. I am going to be traveling the world, sharing my poetry, teaching. I really want to focus on doing events. Like I want to be
Okay.
able to create. I don't know if you how active you are on Instagram, but the work that I've been putting out recently is for like celebrity weddings and birthdays and events like that, just to showcase my talent around being able to bring this information together. Similar with the pot, right? I have the
Yeah.
information about someone to the point where I can curate it and tailor it so specifically for you to make that experience even better. Because it's, you hear things by yourself and you're just like, wow, like we're able to put that together and make it sound that way. So I just want to be able to share that gift and bless people's, special occasions, weddings, birthdays, whatever it is. Because I know that I'm really good at it. So that's where I'll be next year and in the next 5 years. And then
Okay, I
beyond.
think that's dope. Just sounds like multiple streams of revenue for me. I love it. I love it. And then, I think a lot of us, it seems like every single person who I'm speaking to, everybody's are on this angle of how they want to take their craft and their skills and share it. Because everybody says like, I'm a public speaker, I'm this, I'm keynote, I'm this. Oh, and that also in a way of engaging through events like that is a different way to look at it. And I really like that perspective, especially if you saying somebody's coming down the aisle and you're sitting there spitting a crazy ass poem. That just sounds phenomenally sexy. Really excited about it. I cannot wait to see it in action.
Yeah.
But that sounds dope. But that's just the case about it, because I think we're all in the same thing, that our gifts are so much, right? And we have to give away our gifts, because gifts are meant to be given away. They're not meant to be kept.
Exactly.
There's like other ways to do it. I think that's a fabulous way to do it.
Yeah.
Travel the world, pop up and serve weddings, get 40K for spitting a poem, and walk away.
Speak it from your lips to God's ears.
Listen, I'm a manifestor. I'm gonna manifest with you tonight, because don't tell me this is what your dream is, because I'm gonna think about that being your dream, and I'm gonna envision that being your dream, because that's what works for me, and I know it works for everybody else. Because the more people you enroll in the possibility of your dream, the higher your dream will be. Exactly. More is gonna happen, people. Want to be a millionaire? Tell your friends to start calling you a millionaire.
Okay.
All right. I have no time for broke conversations. No, keep that over there with you. And don't include my name in it. Please and thank you.
Period.
Not at all. But I want to thank you so much for sharing this space with me, because I actually got to know you a little better today. Yeah. And this also means that me and you have to spend some time outside of like events and like really share space, so we could really connect for real. And we're going to work on your disconnected feelings.
Yes. 1,000%. 1,000% to all of that.
Because you got to practice that, because everything's practice, around relationships. If you're not practicing not being disconnected, then you're always going to be disconnected.
Exactly.
We know the math.
Yep.
So how can people follow you and track you down, besides the fact that you're going to be a Black Girl Everything's event in Mount Vernon on May 11th, one of the key performers for Black women in music this year, and you're going to be selling your books.
Yes. My books and my pots. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. So the main platform that I'm mostly active on is Instagram. So I can be found at Only Keys Will 2_. That's Only Keys Will 2_. I'm not that active on Facebook. I did reignite my my TikTok. It's the same handle, Only Keys Will. But most of my work you're gonna see on Instagram.
Yeah, that's definitely dope. And they can just Google you too.
That too. And then you could go on Amazon.
I love telling people that. Just Google me.
Google me, baby. And then go on Amazon. Where is that? Yep. Look, okay, right there. Go on Amazon, get your copy of the book. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, can you do me a favor on your Instagram and promote your book once a week?
Okay. I can do that.
Just talk about it. Take pictures of it with the trains, bag your signings, all those different things that you do. I actually got video of you signing your book too.
I was just gonna say, send that footage.
Send that over to you. I stole it from myself. It's gonna pop up in a reel real quick. I'll tag you in it. Don't worry. You can tag in it. But thank you so much for sharing space with me this evening. I truly appreciate you coming on for this interview, and especially getting into this event, which is 2 weeks away, and all the greatness that you have going on. I'm just really excited about it.
Yes, thank you for having me. I was excited about the interview. I was just like, I know it's gonna be good. So I was ready for it. I was like, let me make sure my lighting is good. Make sure.
Yeah, I love these things. So just in the future, if anybody else is watching, you can find this interview and additional interviews will always be on the Black Girl Everything YouTube page. Please make sure you follow the Black Girl Everything YouTube page. And this is Dr. Glow. Thank you. So Keywords, I want you to hang out for 1 second.
Okay.
And everybody, thank you. Good night. And